Now, sheer panic is breaking out within the National CDU and the National SPD. The SPD is attacking the firewall. In North Rhine-Westphalia, it has completely fallen. 100% approval for an AfD motion. And now everyone in the federal parties is up in arms. That's what today's special video is about. And I'm telling you, it's going to be extremely explosive. If you'd like to support this channel, I'd really appreciate a like and a subscription.
Today we're talking about cronyism and double standards.
Let's start right away with the double standards. A few days ago, there was an AfD motion in Dormagen, in beautiful North Rhine-Westphalia. The AfD submitted a motion and all parties agreed to it. Afterwards, the SPD was up in arms. There was a report in the Neue Osterburger Zeitung where a former state premier said, in context, we have to talk to the AfD, there's no other way anymore. Manuela Schwesig said at the same time, yes, it is definitely an advantage. She, as, yes, how should I put it, a minority government. So she is leading a minority government. And at the same time, she would also tolerate the votes of the AfD if she were made state premier. And I'm telling you, this thing is going to get really absurd today. At first, I didn't even want to believe all the news that came in, by the way. I had to jump in the pool this morning, so the video is late.
Im Deutschen Bundestag sorgt. I just didn't want to believe all of this at first, believing all of this at first. The citizens will probably have to deal with quite a bit. Orkaid, who promotes grain, not a lesbian fairy tale again, but only
if the health insurance reform goes through. So only if they get a majority in the Bundestag for the hospital reform are they definitely willing to forego the pay raise for once. However, the second time it wouldn't work like that anymore because by then the mechanism behind it would have been discussed. So we absolutely need to achieve new growth now. And that's why the former state parliament leader, now starts making it clear to the SPD that it's urgent because you can actually push through some reforms with the AfD in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern to say, okay, dear AfD, if you support Manuela Schwesig as state parliament president, then we might consider working together with you. And let me ask you directly, do you think that's really going to happen, or do you think that's just another surprise? It was a blatant lie by the SPD because Manuela Schwesig. Did you talk to your former chancellor?
That's why it's disturbing when, especially these days, the so-called firewall is being criticized in public. When it's demanded that the CDU and CSU should form a minority government that would then inevitably have to rely on the support of the AfD. That must not happen.
No, Manuela Schwesig is not from the CDU. She wants that for Mecklenburg-Vorpommern. No, that's really how it is. Believe me or not, just Google it, look it up. She seriously said she wants a minority government and wants to... If the AfD is really willing to support her as state premier, then they would also accept changing majorities with the AfD. Just like today, like a few days ago in North Rhine-Westphalia, former state premier Albig, the one who was there before Günther, also said, we have to talk to the AfD now, otherwise we will destroy this country. And there are indeed shifting majorities that could be achieved, among others, with the SPD and also at the same time with the CDU, where at the moment reforms are impossible, which would allow this country to move forward. What's your opinion on that? I think the establishment parties should first show that they really mean it and pass a few AfD motions in the Bundestag that are good for this country. And then, and only then, can we continue to talk about whether maybe the firewall might also come down from the other side. Well, dear establishment parties, you have done everything to destroy this AfD, and now you sit down and say, yes, we have to work together with them, then just prove it. And Olaf Scholz, he made another statement, and by accident, I'm about to show another clip.
Exactly, this diversity is what makes our democracy. The AfD fights against this diversity.
I really had to put in a lot of effort so that in this clip, I accidentally edited in here. You know, it was just, no, it's going viral everywhere by now, yeah. But I don't know if YouTube really wants to show that, so I just picked a few seconds from it. Yes, we reject this diversity. And yesterday, and you know Ben Unscripted, I listened to, I think his name is Abu Chaka yesterday. I just threw my hands over my head. That's when you really realize how messed up this country is, and especially what has been done here over the years. So Ben Unscripted is absolutely worth a listen. And yesterday with Abu Chaka, I think that's his name, who then explained again how people used to live in the houses of the Remo clan and stuff like that, and why people became so extremely aggressive in the first place, the damage that was done there, and whether maybe it could be fixed better here in Germany. And I definitely think the whole thing can be fixed. Feel free to write below if you agree with me, or if you want to continue tolerating this diversity here in Germany.
Thank you very much. What does expectation achieve with why do you get that Otto Mondel Hukiamo?
Quite simply because the SPD, the Greens, and the left are losing voters, either because they're leaving or dying. Just pick something. At the same time, the CDU is also losing voters because they're dying. And just imagine if those 300,000 at the beginning and maybe now another 12 million weren't granted citizenship. Just imagine what that would mean for the election polls. There's even a broadcaster that does Tagesschau in simple language, which also highlights the best results for the SPD, CDU, and Greens. No, the SPD is equally bad everywhere. Only the SPD, Greens, and Left Party are simply better positioned there, and the AfD is doing the worst. But if you look at all the other election polls, the picture is drastic, and I simply made a mistake in my last video. No, today in the Sunday poll, we don't have 30% yet, but let's wait for Monday. The next INSA poll is coming right up. The next politician ranking will likely be coming up again soon. By the way, one very important point about the politician ranking. In public broadcasting, it's not Friedrich Merz who's last, but Alice Weidel. And just imagine, now they've even gone so far in public broadcasting. And they've color-coded Söder the same way as Alice Weidel. Well, only a rogue would think anything bad about that. Why should they suddenly share a color?
I listen to Vital because she understands the challenge.
Yes.
We don't link to the SPD and the Greens, we link to the AfD. The Black-Green coalition diet became a huge topic, then another war issue arose, but that was already covered in the speech.
Was one of the strongest.
Yes, and Söder now as well. He made some really strange statements. Maybe we should actually talk to the AfD. Maybe we should actually take a step toward them. Again, in the ear stomach. They voted 100%. Maybe these people are just realizing that a firewall is pretty undemocratic because you're excluding the voting public, yes. But no. I say it's more because it's election season. They won't, quoting Friedrich Merz, actually get this big reform package done by the 30th. But a lot of small adjustments are already being made. Guys, I can't take this anymore. The gigantic reform package will be completed by June 30th. Well, we're making a few small adjustments. Let me guess. June 30th. Well, we're going on summer break for now. Then we'll wait for the elections and see what happens with the budget. And that has to be done by, I think, December 13th or 18th at the latest. It has to be introduced then. And then we'll think about whether we can somehow get the money together. Can we make those savings at the citizens' expense? If yes, all good. And if not, then maybe we'll reconsider whether we want to directly exclude the AfD again. It's much easier that way.
Chancellor Merz is already lowering expectations for the reforms and says there won't be a, quote, big bang with the reform package, but only a process.
So in the summer, you'll just get summer, only with noticeably more burdens than before. And no relief. So just noticeably a bit more. I think you understand what I mean by that. And the autumn of reforms, unfortunately, has to be cancelled because of the elections. And here I had a conversation with my neighbor yesterday. I just want to break it down very briefly again. Apparently, he's from the SPD camp. We didn't go into detail about that. And yesterday, he told me some really great things. And that's something I'd like to share with you again. He said, if you want to know how right-wing radical the AfD is, and I haven't talked to him much, you just have to read the AfD's party program in Saxony-Anhalt. I was like, that's great. I had to read it for work, you know what I do, so I read it. I asked, which part exactly is so radical? Yeah, I haven't read it. So I said, but why did you tell me to read it then? Well, all right, but then let's move on. Then he said something like, yeah, and Alice Weidel, she's the worst. She lives in Switzerland and doesn't pay any taxes here. I was like, no, wait a minute. Even a ZDF fact check has already disproved that. I was like, Alice Weidel lives here in Germany and pays taxes here. And even the public broadcaster, so ZDF's fact check, had to confirm that. He then made the next claim. Otherwise, I would end the video here with that claim. And I said to him, I was like, oh, yeah, I listened to 4 hours of Hucker. I was like, what exactly was just as bad there? I was like, maybe 1, 2, 3 statements that I wouldn't stand behind. But at the same time, I mean, when the SPD and CDU demand that lying in Germany should be punished when I communicate with others, I don't think that's good either. I mean, that's just the absolute worst. I was like, and if we talk about the COVID era, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and then I gave him a few sports tasks. I was like, hey, can't you just do me a favor for my work? Yeah. I was like, could you maybe just look up for me, like, really the whole context with the source where it says that I could finally classify her as far right extremist, like for myself, so that I finally have certainty about what was said. And then it came, yeah, Nazism, just a tiny blip in history. I was like, yeah, I know the whole context. It was actually more about the time why Germany always, I mean, we have an incredibly long tradition that goes all the way from the ancient Germanic tribes up to today, where we have a very colorful culture of diversity. And Nazism lasted only a short time. I was like, hey, just look it up for me, please. And he spent the whole evening on his phone checking it out. I don't know if he did that for me, if he really wanted to do it that way. He was definitely pretty quiet. I also told him, like, yeah, I really want to see the movie Nuremberg in the theater. I think tonight I'm going to get on my e-bike and ride to the cinema. But then my wife said, no, in 2 weeks the kids will be gone. We'll watch it together. It describes exactly how to establish a classic dictatorship in Germany with disinformation and so on. And I don't know, have you seen the movie yet? Feel free to write it in the comments below. Is it good? Is it worth watching? I'd be really interested to know. Now I wish you all a happy Pentecost.